Good morning, writers. My name is Elora Gunn, and today we're going to be talking about pantsers, planners, and writers who aren't either one. If you are a new or aspiring writer, click that subscribe button below and also follow me on my socials. The links are in the description. Let's get started. If you've been in the writing community for a little while, you've probably heard some of the phrases used to describe different approaches to planning and writing a novel. The hard part is knowing which way is going to work for you. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons of these different styles in this video. Also, comment down below which style you are most interested in and what you think you want to try. What is a pantser? And how do you do it? If you are a pantser, you like to fly by the seat of your pants, hence the name. Outlines can feel restrictive or distracting, and it just doesn't work for you. You want to discover the story along the way as you're writing it. You want to live it with your characters. You might often say that the story was taken over by your characters. The upside to this type of writing is that you'll be less likely to get bored because you're going to be just as interested as everyone else to know what's going to happen in the story. The downside, however, is you will be more likely to fall into plot holes or dead ends as you write the story. What is a planner? And how do you do it? If you like to see the whole picture before you start writing, if you love world building or setting up elaborate scenes, towns, countries, and then adding in the characters, you might be a planner. You might even go so far as to have the entire history of the world planned out. The upside is that you'll be more likely to avoid major plot holes or story structure issues because you already have the entire thing planned out before you even started. This can drastically cut down on the amount of drafts that you need to go through before you're ready to have it published. But one of the biggest downsides is that you're going to have to work pretty hard to create characters that fit into that world naturally without seeming like they are just kind of along for the ride and not actually having agency and living the story. And if you do end up having some major plot hole that you have to fix, it can kind of ruin the whole outline that you've already poured all of this work into. Or you could combine the two separate types of planning and be what some people call a plantser or a gardener. I personally really like this approach the best because I can focus on the story without being bogged down in the details too much. I have enough of a structure to build around without feeling like I have to create this entire elaborate building before I can even get started. I'll be doing an entirely separate video in the future about my own style, how I approach it when I'm starting a new project, and how I get from beginning to end and finish an entire book. But just know that while that might work for me, it might not work for you. Long story short, I spent a lot of years trying to be a pantser, and I ended up with about 100 amazing first chapters, and not one single finished book to show for it. So how do you know which path you should take? How do you know what's going to work for you? The hard truth is that until you actually try it, you're not gonna know. If you feel like you want to be a pantser, start simple. Come up with a main character and a vague idea of what you want the story to be about, and go. You might need to do a couple extra drafts to get the story solidified, but you might make something amazing. If you want to be a planner, it's time to jot down all of the details that you can think of for the story right now, and then continue to build on all of that information. You could even try writing it out in a couple of paragraphs and then fleshing it out as you go along, adding characters and more scenes and everything that you need to create a complete story. Most importantly of all, remember that writing, as we've said before, is a skill, and it takes time to perfect it and to turn it into something that works for you, because it is very individual. It took a lot of trial and error for me to figure out my way, but listening to the advice and the structures that other authors used was really helpful and helped me to kind of pick and choose what pieces I needed. I hope this brief overview was helpful to you in figuring out which method might work, and that you'll be able to find your own flow and rhythm for how to plan and to write a story. And that's it for this week. Now go get writing, and I'll see you next Thursday for more helpful tips.